Hi, everyone. I'm Lucy Fato. I'm the General Counsel at AIG, and I hope you've been enjoying the event so far. At AIG, we have been a sponsor and supporter of NJ LEEP for several years, and we really enjoy the time that we spend with the students when we bring them into our offices. And we're really delighted to be a sponsor of tonight's event. So I hope you're having a good time, and I think we'll be talking a little bit later.
Hi everyone, my name is Adonai Gordon. I hope you're enjoying the gala so far. I'm going to be going to Rutgers, Newark, and I'll be interviewing Lucy Fato of AIG and what it takes to be a great leader. So our first question, I guess, in this interview. What is one thing that you learned in college that you practice now?
I don't think it was a typical college experience. One, I lived at home, so I didn't live in a dorm. And second, I worked my way through college. So I always had a job and spent half my days working and half my days going to school. A lot of what I took away from college were things that I learned through the jobs that I had and the people that I met through those jobs. I actually really loved college. I went to the University of Pittsburgh, which is where I grew up. I was able to get to school in 15 or 20 minutes. It was a very easy commute. I used to take a bus, public transportation, and I met a lot of great people. And there were also a lot of other people like me that worked their way through school. And so we kind of had our own little community. So one of the things I think I learned is that it doesn't really matter what your situation is. There are always going to be people that you can bond with and share your experience with. One way or another, people adapt, especially young people. They adapt and they find a way to make things work. And so even if we're still living under these conditions, I suspect there's going to be a way to make it work. And I think the younger generations are very resilient and creative and know how to work with technology. So I think one way or another, it'll work its way out.
Tell me a bit about your career path and what advice would you give to your younger self?
Advice that I give people all the time is to not think of your career as just linear and constantly moving up or being promoted, but being open to doing other things where sometimes it may be a lateral move, but it brings on a new skill set, or maybe you even take a step back sometimes, but you learn something new, and then that helps propel you to something else. After I graduated from college, I was a business and economics major. I went to law school, and that was 3 years. And actually, something a lot of people don't know is I originally applied and was accepted to get a joint law degree and an MBA. Because of my business background in college, I thought I wanted to get a master's in business administration. So I applied to the joint program at Pitt, and I was accepted, but the first year was entirely law school. So you just went to law school for the first year, and you didn't start the MBA courses till your second year. And once I went to law school, I loved it. And I loved it so much, I decided to not do the MBA portion. I have some regrets about that. I think in hindsight, I could have taken the extra year to finish off the MBA. It would have meant 4 years instead of 3. But I really, really liked law school. It really drew me in. And so I ended up just staying there. I graduated. And then I moved to New York City, which was kind of a fluke because I was born and raised in Pittsburgh and had never left. But some New York law firms came to my law school in Pittsburgh to interview for summer associate roles, which is what you do in law school. You work at law firms in the summer. And if you find one that you like and they like you, they make you an offer, a permanent offer for when you graduate. So I spent my first summer at a law firm in Pittsburgh, my second summer at a law firm in New York called Davis Polk. They made me an offer to go full time after I graduated. So that's what I did. I graduated and moved straight to New York. I thought I would do it for a few years and go back to Pittsburgh. But that was in 1991, and I'm still in New York. So I never went back. I go home and visit. My mom is there and my oldest sister, so I go home a lot. I still love Pittsburgh. But I ended up staying at Davis Polk for 14 years. I became a partner there, a corporate partner. I'm a capital markets lawyer by background, which means I helped companies raise money in financial markets. So they would go out and do an initial public offering and sell stock for the first time, or they would raise debt in a public offering. And I did that for 14 years. And then I had the opportunity to go in-house to a corporation, which I did, a company called Marsh & McLennan. And I spent 9 years there. And I was the number 2 lawyer there, the deputy general counsel. And I worked closely with the board. And after 9 years, I had the opportunity to go to another company to be their general counsel, to be the number 1 lawyer at the company. So I did that. It's a company called Standard & Poor's, which is a rating agency. And I went there for a couple of years to be their general counsel, and they had a lot of litigation and other problems I helped clean up, to move on and do something different. But first I decided to take a year off, which was the best decision I ever made. I was turning 50, the big 50, which you have a long way to go before you get there. So you're very lucky.
Yeah.
It's not all it's cracked up to be. But I decided I had gotten married. I had 2 young girls. They're still young, but they were very young at the time. And I said, you know what? I've been working since I was 16 years old, worked my way through college, worked my way through law school. I'm turning 50. I need to just take a year and not work and just, take some time off. And so I did. And it was the best decision I ever made. I had a fabulous year. And then I made a very different career choice. I actually went to a private investigative firm in a business role. I was also a lawyer, but I was mostly in a business role. It was a very entrepreneurial environment. It was a firm that does private investigative work, which I find really, really fascinating. And I was doing that. I was really happy. I loved it. I loved the people. And then the CEO of my current company, AIG, someone who I had worked with at Marsh & McLennan, called me and said, I'm going to AIG. It's a big turnaround. I want to bring people in that I know. Will you come and join me and be the general counsel of AIG? And so I did it. I'm still on the advisory board of the investigative firm. It's called Nardello & Co. So I'm still very involved with their company and their business and helping them with their strategy. My career's been kind of all over the place. It was very traditional law firm, associate, make partner. And then once I went in-house, it just kind of turned into a lot of different things. But I'm really glad I did it. I have no regrets. I really love what I do. I do like being a lawyer. So I do think ultimately I made the right decision to go the legal route instead of the MBA route. But it would have been nice to get that MBA under my belt, because I am a corporate lawyer, so I spend a lot of time on business issues.
Right.
So very varied career, which I strongly recommend people keep an open mind when they have opportunities that may not be exactly what you thought your next role would be, because you never know where it's going to lead.
Yeah, speaking about you not really pursuing your MBA, but sticking with law, like what was that thing that made you say, okay, I want to go through law. I want to go with law the full way, like no regrets. I want to go with law. What's so fascinating about law to you?
I grew up, like I said, I grew up in Pittsburgh. I'm the daughter of immigrants. My family was from Italy. I'm first generation. Even my sisters were born in Italy. We never knew any lawyers. I didn't know any lawyers growing up. So I didn't really know what lawyers did, except some TV shows that I watched. And when I was in my junior going into my senior year of college, I tell this story a lot because it's amazing the impact one person can have on your life, and even if it's someone that you don't even know very well. But a friend of my sister's came to visit. My sister is 5 years older than me, so I was in college. She was well out of college at that point. And it was a friend of hers from high school who she had been friends with in high school, but they had kind of gone their separate ways, and they'd bumped into each other and decided to get together and just reconnect. And she said, well, you should really think about going to law school. And I said, why? And she said, well, it's a good education. You become a really good writer. You learn analytical skills. You learn how to be an advocate for certain things. And a lot of people go to law school who never practice law. They go because it's a good education and it helps them be more successful in whatever their field is. So I went to shadow her for a day, and I was just blown away. She was a public defender. Her clients were mostly young men of color who had been arrested, and her job was to show that there had been no probable cause, which is a term under the Constitution that says there has to be probable cause to arrest someone or search their home or search their car. It's part of our civil rights. You can't just sort of barge in and, arrest someone for no reason. Her job was to show that there had been no probable cause to arrest these young people. Like I said, they were all young men, mostly men of color. And she won, she probably had about 20 cases that day. She won 18 of them. She turned to me and she said, this is how young men of color get records, criminal records that really hurt them for the rest of their lives. They may have trouble finding a job. They may not be able to go to school. They'll end up taking a plea bargain, and that'll be on their record, for forever, unless they can get it expunged at some point. And literally in that moment, I just was stunned. I never thought about the concept. I felt really ignorant. I mean, here I was in college. I thought I was getting educated, but because I never took any courses around that sort of thing, I didn't really understand the Constitution and civil rights and what it meant, and search and seizure and probable cause. I didn't know how a courtroom worked and a judge and, all these different phases of a trial that start, in the very early stages, and it takes a while before it makes its way through. And so I was just mesmerized, and that was what got me interested in going to law school. To this day, I am very focused on pro bono work and helping people that don't have can't afford to have a lawyer. Not necessarily people who have issues with criminal justice, but there are a lot of people that need help. At AIG, we help people who need to get immigration status. We help people who are entrepreneurs and they want to start their own business. We help them with the paperwork that's involved in that. So there are a lot of ways as a lawyer you can help people on a pro bono basis, which means it's free. They don't have to pay for the advice. And a lot of people in my legal department like to do that. They like to take a few hours a week or a month to give back in some way. And that was another thing I liked about law school, is it was a way to help people and a way to help a lot of people in lots of different ways.
What if someone doesn't have that defining moment in their life? What if no one ever approached them to say, hey, you could shadow me for a day, and this is what I do.
Sometimes you just have to follow your instincts. Everybody has things they like to do, they don't like to do. You'll take classes in college. There will be some that you'll naturally like or be better at than others. And that may be a clue that that's an area that you're actually, could potentially become passionate about because you really like it and you're interested. It's hard to be passionate about something if you don't like it or you're not interested. Like, that just doesn't really happen. And I always encourage people to be open-minded, especially in the first couple years of college. Take as many different kinds of classes as you can.
Is it something that you've ever experienced before, self-doubt? And if so,
yeah.
how do you deal with self-doubt? How do you get over that kind of hurdle? How do you get over that obstacle of self-doubt?
Yeah. Look, I think it happens to everyone. Most people, at least. It's all about life and learning and figuring out what's right for you. But I think a lot of self-doubt comes from that. And I think when I experienced the most doubt, to be honest, was when I graduated law school and went to work at Davis Polk in New York, the law firm I worked at. It was very intimidating for me in the beginning because, and it was all self-imposed. No one was trying to intimidate me. It was all coming from myself. But most of the people I worked with had gone to Ivy League schools, and I was from Pittsburgh. I was a child of immigrants. My parents never graduated high school. And so when I got there, I was like, oh my God, like, how did I ever get here? Like, there's a mistake somewhere and someone's going to figure it out. And when is that day going to come? Someone's going to come knock on my door and say, oh, we made a really bad mistake. We thought you were someone else who went to Harvard. But that never happened. And so those days, those first couple years were really hard because I just assumed that all these people were smarter than I was. My starting class had about 75 people in it, and less than 10 of us eventually made partner, and I was one of them. And so when I think back to how insecure and how many doubts I had in those first couple of years out of those 75 people, and then I was one of 6 or 7 that actually made it through 8 or 9 years and became a partner, that was a big deal. Even a lot of women in these law firms, let alone women that came from non-traditional schools and non-traditional backgrounds. The other thing to know is you don't always get things right. I mean, there's no right and wrong in most situations. There really isn't. I mean, there are always decision trees. Do I do it this way? Do I do it that way? Do I say this? Do I say that? Do I write the paper this way? Do I write it that way? And there's usually not a right answer. It's just what you decide you want to do and how you do it. And so there are lots of different paths you can take. There are a lot of different ways you make decisions along the way. And none of them are right or wrong. Our CEO, Brian Dupereau, once told me, this was years ago when we were at our other company, when he joined the company, I told him I was really happy he was there because he seemed to me to be someone who was very decisive, that he would make decisions. Like he wouldn't just think about it and think about it and think about it. Like he would actually make a decision and move on. And he said, well, that's my job as a CEO. I have to make decisions. And he said, I don't always make the right decisions. Nobody makes right decisions all the time. He said, I just hope that the ones I make that aren't right aren't terrible ones that are going to get the company in trouble. And he said, in most of my career, I've done pretty good. My decision making's been good, but he said, it's not perfect. He said, but if I worried about always being perfect, I wouldn't make a decision, and not making a decision is worse than making a decision that maybe isn't completely right. As you learn and you grow, you have better judgment, you have more experience, and you kind of go with your instinct a lot more. But he said, I know I don't always make the right decision, but it's okay. I fix it. If it's something that's broken, I'll fix it, make another decision to put it on a different path.
Yeah, move on. Got it. How do you lead during uncertainty? And what advice would you give students like me, seniors, in this current situation, or going off our first year to college?
This has obviously been a really challenging situation. I think, many people have been through a lot of things over their lives, but I don't think there's anyone alive today who has seen anything like this global pandemic. So it's definitely tested a lot of people for sure. And for people in leadership roles, it's been critical to do a few things. And I think first and foremost, acknowledging what it is and not trying to just say, oh, everything will be fine, don't worry about it. I think you have to be very honest with people and say, look, this is really tough and it's going to last a long time. We're going to do our best to get people set up to do their work from home. We know people are going to have challenges if they have children at home or elderly parents at home. And so, have to be really, really flexible as a leader and make sure that people that you manage understand that it's okay if you can't participate in a call because your kid is doing distance learning and you have to help them with that. So I think first being very honest about the situation, showing flexibility, showing empathy and understanding that for some people it's harder than others. And so in a way, it's united the world in a way that is just, you don't really see that happen very often in a lifetime. It's sort of a once in a generation type thing, I hope. Everybody's kind of becoming united because we're fighting this common enemy. It's impacting everybody around the world. You see their kids running around in the background. You see their pets coming around. And it's kind of nice. I think people have gotten to know each other in a different way. We've met people's families, seen their children more. So there are always, positive things that come out of crises. There goes one of my kids right now. And so it is important in this time to be visible as the leader, to communicate a lot, tell people what they want to know. We have an email line where people send in questions, and we try to answer every single question people have. You don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable or uncertain. So I'll ask you a couple questions. What do you like to do outside of class, like extracurricular type stuff? Are there sports that you like, or other things that you can do alongside your classes?
Yeah, I have I fence too. My mom was like, "Hey, like, you wanna do fencing?" And I was like, "Nah, I don't feel like building fences right now. I'm building fences." And no, it's like sword fighting. It's like sword fighting. You could fight with swords, and that like drew me in immediately as a young person.
Yeah.
I'm so young, but like I was always wanted to do those type of action type things.
Cool.
Yeah,
It's so cool. I love it. See,
yeah,
you already have something you're passionate about. That's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, my mom definitely made sure that I had, when we came to America again, we had all the cards laid out, and I just have to keep on picking from the deck to try to see what I really fall in love with. So yeah, I've done a lot of things definitely throughout my life so far. So yeah,
That's great. That's
yeah,
amazing. That's really fantastic that you found so many things that interest you. And those things will continue to be in your life, I'm sure, in some way, shape, or form.
so Angelique is, I guess it came knocking at the right time. Angelique really taught me how to read. Oh, not, but I know how to read already, but they taught me how to, I guess, work on my writing skills and my public speaking skills, and reading and comprehension. Definitely things that was really lacking in on public schools. I kind of learned personal stuff too. I always learned that you should always be proactive about things like in the working environment with the internships we had, going to different places, trying to see like, hey, like I could be here as well. Because when growing up in Brooklyn or in the Caribbean, like you don't normally go into that kind of aspect. You don't go into like that working environment. I was like, I could be here as well. Like this is definitely not far fetched. I could be in one of these seats. I could be in one of these positions, and it really kind of um really pushed me forward to saying, hey, like you really gotta lock down and really go into your studies and saying, hey, this is like where you need to be. This is where you could be. And yeah, I've never really got that before, so that was really interesting.
And
Yeah,
your mom sounds great, by the way.
yeah, she's lovely. I love my mom a lot. Yeah, so
She sounds terrific, and like she's a huge supporter and
yeah,
taking care of you and looking out for you. That's great. That's really terrific. I'm sure she's very proud.
yeah, she is. Loves me a lot. Yeah.
That's great.
Hi everyone. I hope you enjoyed that interview. I think one of the biggest things I took away from this interview is that there's more than one way to go about life, and self-doubt is only human nature. Really, there's just a whole bunch of different directions you could take things. Yeah.
Well, thanks for listening, everyone. I want to thank Adane Gordon for doing an excellent interview, one of the best interviews I've ever done. And it was really great to learn more about NJ LEEP and the impact it has on high school kids. And I want to wish Adane the best of luck as he goes off to college. Congratulations to you, to all of your classmates, and to all the other NJ LEAP participants who are graduating. While it's been a very extraordinary moment in time because of coronavirus, I think you're all going to thrive, and you're really the future that we need in this country. So best of luck to all of you. Try to have fun this summer, and enjoy your time in college.